Welcome back to the channel. On this channel, I talk about life in Canada, studying in Canada, and personal development. If you are new here, hi, I am your host, Trudian, and today I have a special guest with me. She is my dear friend, Zahrah. Thank you, Zahrah, for joining us to talk about your experiences. Today, Zahrah will share with us some of the advantages and disadvantages of living in Canada. If you would like to travel to Canada like Zahrah and I, but have questions about the process to do so, you can email me at growwithtp@gmail.com. The link will be in the description box below. So, Zahrah, what is your program of study?
I am doing a Bachelor of Science in Biology, and I am currently a third-year student at the University of PEI.
And why did you choose that field?
I have always wanted to study medicine. However, in Canada and the United States, unlike in most European countries like France or the United Kingdom, students in Canada do not start medical school right after graduating from high school. If you want to study medicine in Canada, you will first need to have a bachelor's degree, but the bachelor's degree does not have to be in a scientific field, but you just need to ensure that you have the prerequisite courses before applying for medical school. But for me, even after I graduate next year, I first need to get my permanent residency before applying for medical school. And that's because most Canadian medical schools offer seats only to permanent residents or Canadian citizens, but not to international students.
Okay, and how were you able to choose a province? Why PEI?
So, as I mentioned earlier, one of the reasons I've chosen Canada is because it is relatively more affordable to study here compared to some developed countries. I also had to choose a university where the scholarship I've received would cover all or most of my tuition fee. So I have chosen PEI mainly because the University of PEI is among the most affordable universities in Canada, but also because I know it is a small and tight-knit community. And I am very grateful that I chose PEI. It is a very quiet province, and most islanders I've met are very nice and welcoming.
Certainly. So, what are your classes like?
One thing that I like about Canadian universities is that students have some flexibility as to what courses they want to take, especially with regards to electives. For 2.5 semesters, all my classes were entirely online, except for lab classes, and that was, of course, due to the pandemic. But last semester, most of my classes were in person. When everything was in person, you normally attend lectures on campus for around 3 hours a week per course. In addition, for my science courses, I had lab classes for 3 hours each week. For some classes, I had assignments, tests, and midterms is spread throughout the semester, plus final exams for some courses. It may sound cliche, but if you put in the work, time, energy, and effort into your studies, both inside and especially outside the classroom, you will do very well at university. Time management, especially at the beginning of your university studies, can be hard for some students. It is not always easy to juggle university, revisions, a part-time job, volunteering, maintaining a good health, and even having a social life and a decent amount of sleep, but it does get easier with time.
Definitely. And that's actually an episode that I spoke about the challenges and what it was like being in university. It was a day in the life of an international student where I actually spoke about how important it is to be organized and to be able to manage your time. So, do you think you will stay in Canada after graduation?
Yes, I do plan to study and work in Canada after I graduate from UPI.
What would you say is the most important thing everyone should know before coming to Canada?
Very often we have many expectations as to how the country we are traveling to for our studies would be, especially if we have been planning to study abroad for a long time. I think this does not only apply to Canada, but to any country in the world. The most important thing to keep in mind for anyone coming to Canada, whether on a study permit or even on a work permit or as an immigrant or permanent resident, is to remember that Canada has its own problems just like any other country in the world. But I think that despite all the problems that it has, Canada is one of the best countries to live in the world. If you come here and you stay focused on your goals and on what you want to achieve and give your best in everything you do, you will definitely be rewarded for your hard work. There are many opportunities here, and if you come to Canada and put in the love, time, and energy required, you will brilliantly achieve what you have in mind.
Well said. So, will you apply for your postgraduate work permit?
Yes, I will apply for it. I will need to apply for it right after I graduate to be able to work in Canada legally after graduation.
On the note of working in Canada, what does networking mean to you? Do you believe that networking is important?
For me, networking is about interacting and engaging with people, but not necessarily with the sole aim of them helping me to get a job, for instance, but it is also about connecting with people and making friends. Sometimes it is as simple as emailing someone and asking them if they have 30 minutes to grab a coffee and discuss about whatever projects I might have. For me, networking does not necessarily have to be an in person interaction, but it can also be via email, on the phone, or even through social media. I do believe networking is important. I don't think you won't get a job or a volunteer position without networking. You don't necessarily have to network to get a job, but I have to recognize that networking is becoming an increasingly important part of the job search. So it is important to build these relationships with people, both in your field, but also in other fields, since it can help you have more opportunities to advance your career.
Certainly. And in Canada, we have the 10,000 Coffee where we can also network through that platform. Are you aware of that program?
I am aware of it, but I've never used it. I have friends who have used it. I think I might use it soon.
Yeah, so basically, the 10,000 Coffee program is just a networking platform where you receive introductions, is what they call it. So you receive introductions and you would meet these persons and get to know people, and it can be both virtually or in person. So, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
So in 5 years, I will have already graduated from UPI, hopefully already received my permanent residency, and possibly be in medical school.
Ah, so let's talk about job search. How long did it take after landing in Canada to get a job?
So I arrived on PEI on January 2nd of 2020, but I did not plan on working during my first semester since I first wanted to get used to my new lifestyle. But I know I needed to work during the summer so as to pay for my tuition fee and living expenses. I started sending my resume in mid February everywhere I knew needed people to work over the summer. But then COVID hit in March of 2020, and I believe it's probably part of the reason it took me around 2 months and a half to get my first job. It definitely took me some time to get my first job, but after the first job, it was easier to find a part time job during school and also a full time job the following summer. I won't say it is hard to get a job, but it can take a few weeks or sometimes 1 month or two to get a job here.
Okay. And also, for some persons, they get a job before landing in Canada.
Yes.
So, what are some tips that you would give to our listeners on getting a job in Canada?
The first thing is work on your resume. Then don't be picky at the beginning when looking for a job as a student, especially if you don't have another job offer. I would also suggest to anyone looking for a job to send their resume everywhere they can. Even if you don't get an answer for a job that you genuinely wanted, keep looking. It might take some time, but don't give up. Keep searching, and you will ultimately find a job. We were talking about networking before, and networking might also help not only to get a job, but also to get a volunteer position.
And is there anything that you would like to add?
Two things I would like to add. First, I have noticed that we haven't covered the topic of housing or accommodation in depth. But for those who are listening and are planning to come to Canada, please start looking for an apartment or a place to stay very early. I am saying this because there is a housing crisis on PEI and also in some big Canadian cities. The second thing I would like to add is anyone who is coming to Canada for their studies or who wants to pursue a career in medicine and needs advice, I would be very happy to help you. Or if I cannot help you, I will direct you towards somebody who will be able to help you. I won't give my personal email here, but you can contact Trudy, shoot her an email, and maybe write in the subject that you would like to speak with me. And Trudy will let me know and will forward me the email.
Certainly, I will do that. And if you're unaware of the email address, it's growwithtp@gmail.com. The link is in the description box below. So, what should be our biggest takeaway from this entire session?
It's come to Canada with an open heart and an open mind. Remain focused on your goals and strive daily to achieve them, and help everyone along your path. Many of us have left our loved ones, family, and friends in our home country because we want a better future in Canada. So be kind, gentle, and generous to everyone. I will end with a quote from my favorite Persian poet, Jalal ad-Din Muhammad Rumi, or known simply as Rumi in the West. In one of his quotes about life, which was translated from Farsi into English, he said, "Everyone has been made for some particular work, and the desire for that work has been put in every heart." So my thought on this is find what you love to do and follow your heart. Give your best and do it.
Definitely. And if you would like to come to Canada, like Zahrah and I, or if you have any questions about the medical field or just Canada in general, you can always email me at growwithtp@gmail.com and we will respond to your email. Thank you so much, Zahrah, for joining us on this session.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Definitely. You're most welcome. I hope you all enjoyed hearing Zahrah's journey and her experiences. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.